You're listening to Radio Sri Lanka. A very good morning to you if you happen to just tune in. It's precisely 11:34. And we have a very special guest online right now to speak about a very important topic as well. It would be on meditation as a tool to manage self. So to do the honors, we have with us Mr. Charles Hogg, who is the National Coordinator of Brahma Kumaris Australia. And, he certainly feels that we need new wisdom for contemporary life. So he's going to talk more about meditation, which could be used as a tool to manage self. So a very good morning to you and welcome to Sri Lanka.
Thank you so much, Sharifa. It's really lovely to be with you.
Thank you so much once again for sparing some time so that we can talk about something really, really important. And let's talk about how has meditation personally helped you in managing yourself in your daily life?
Yes, I grew up in Australia and I felt I had a very good education, but at different times in life you observe yourself, and I realized that sometimes when, problems came in relationships or life, I would overthink about it. And sometimes I observed that I really had no inner control. Even though I was so educated about the world outside, I was so uneducated about my inner world. And when issues, problems, challenges came, sometimes we overthink, we can't sleep, all these sorts of things. And so I really decided I needed to do something about it because the whole quality of life is really affected by my mental state and the way I manage my thinking. And I began to meditate, and quite honestly, I was astounded by the change in the way I felt internally. And that feeling sort of flows into my health, my physical health, I would say my family life, my relationships, my performance in work. When you have more sense of who you are and how to manage thoughts and emotions, it's just enhances the quality of life incredibly.
Exactly. And can you also share some specific meditation techniques or practices that you find particularly effective for self-management?
Yeah. I think one of the methods, the foundation method for me perhaps, is to not just know, not just believe, but experience who I am. Because I think the seed of so much dysfunction in life is we've forgotten who I am. And I believe perhaps I'm something more than this body. I'm a soul, a spirit, the psyche, whatever. But when I began to practice meditation, I began to understand that the permanent self is the soul. The temporary self is my body. And I just learned the art of letting go the awareness of all my labels, my gender, my nationality, my religion, all the labels that are all temporary, and really connect with my fundamental essential self. And what I found, I didn't have to sort of psych myself into peace. You know how sometimes you might relax, you want to relax, you think, I must relax. I found the more I learned the art of letting go the consciousness of my body, becoming soul conscious, automatically my whole inner world cooled down. I felt this incredibly sweet feeling. It's like a fragrance in your mind of just contentment, like I feel comfortable about the person I am. I'm not putting this pressure on myself to be something, to look good, to impress people, all that sort of thing.
Interesting. So what advice would you give to the beginners who wants to get into this, who are interested in incorporating meditation into their daily routine?
Yes, I feel that if you learn to meditate, give it some months, because, sometimes when you first sit down and you really start to observe the sort of thoughts you're having, you begin to realize I have virtually no control over my thinking. And that sometimes some people give up. I can't do this. But if you persevere, you learn probably the most valuable art in life. Using my own thoughts, I can create a feeling or a fragrance in my mind that I want. And not only that, I can then sustain it as I go throughout my day. And that's where I would say to all beginners, just persevere a little bit. Don't give up if the mind runs wild. They often say the mind is like a wild horse. Because I just decided when I was 22, I began to meditate, and I've been doing it for nearly 50 years every day. And I would honestly say I'm a different person from what I was then. I just feel stable internally. So no matter how much life changes, people change, the economy changes, the world changes, that sense of self and that stability internally is there. And so it doesn't influence, it doesn't affect so much, because otherwise I think there's so much mental time worrying. And the big thing of our time is anxiety, which is fear of the future, fear of outcomes. What will happen? What will happen to my family? What's going to happen to my work? What's going to happen to the country? And those thoughts just take away all the joy of the present. And I think there's been a huge change in me. And that's where I would say to beginners to learn a method of meditation, and then keep practicing for at least 3 months daily, because then I think you get going. It's a little bit like physical fitness. When you start training, you feel really sore. It's painful.
Yes, exactly.
And yet, we all know that. But once you get fit, you love it.
Yes, you like the outcome of it, what happens through the journey, isn't it? So
exactly.
You also mentioned that it's quite challenging sometimes to begin with. So we spoke about how it relates to physical training. So have you experienced any challenges or obstacles in your meditation journey?
Oh, definitely. Because, internally we have our conscious mind, which is the mind that meets the world through the sense organs. What we see, what we hear, what we feel, it's like thrown up on the screen of the mind. But we have an unconscious mind, which is all these habitual patterns of behavior and responses and in my subconscious. And some of them are so strong. Fear, insecurity, lack of self-respect. Honestly, I feel almost all of us have lack of self-respect today. Sometimes we just feel a bit inferior, unworthy, not good enough. And that sort of colors our impression, everything in life. It affects everything.
Exactly.
And I found that the more I've meditated, the more my self-respect has improved. But these challenges come up. But slowly, gently over time, I think we step back into a sense of self-value that isn't dictated to by people, their opinions of me, their behavior, their attitudes, because often I think we're like a puppet dancing to the tune of trying to please other people and what they want of me.
Very true. So in what ways does meditation contribute to enhancing focus, concentration, and let's say productivity as well? Yeah,
I think there's an incredible amount of research on this sort of thing these days. That there's a New York neurologist, and the man Dan Goleman, who wrote Emotional Intelligence, he's Mr. Emotional Intelligence. They've written a book, and they've done scientific research. They've researched hundreds of scientific researchers into meditation. And what they've actually found is that meditation actually changes your personality for the positive. And so it's not just that you relax in the present, you actually grow into the person you want to be much more. Because I think, sometimes we all want a healthy life, and so we eat well, we exercise, we sleep. But the most important thing is my mind. Mm-hmm. And I don't really care for my mind. I can be the fittest person, have the best diet in the world, and I'm still not very happy. And I think what the big message of life today is, I have to give time to care for my mind. And you know, Sharifa, what I've found is that even as a parent, you know, a lot of parents come to our meditation centers and they say, oh, I wish my child could relax. I wish my child could be happier. And you know what I always say to them? If you meditate and if you change, there is no greater gift you can give to your child, because your child learns from who you are, not what you say to them. And if they say that you're calming down a lot, you live in self-respect, you don't react to people, they will learn from you, because your example is the most powerful thing. And so meditation not only enhances the quality of my life, but it really, I think it can transform even family life as well in a positive way.
Exactly. And let's also talk about, how mindfulness is a key component of meditation. And we spoke about how meditation can actually relieve stress, and it could do wonders. And let's also talk about how it could actually influence decision-making and self-awareness.
Absolutely, yeah. I've known a few parliaments and cabinets that meditate before they make decisions. And, you know, I was in the United Nations in New York once, and when you actually walk in the front door, just to the right of the United Nations, there's a little meditation room. And, you know, Dag Hammarskjöld, who is probably one of the most famous Secretary Generals, he was there after the Second World War, like a world in chaos. And he felt, you know, he had to make such big decisions collectively, but he was responsible for massive changes in our world. You know what he'd do? He went to meditate because he felt he had to sort of even have a divine influence, because this decision was much greater than him. And I found when you meditate, you sort of step back. You become like a detached observer. You become objective, not overly emotional, because emotion can deceive. Emotion can deceive, and I make bad decisions based on emotion. We need feelings, of course, there's no doubt, but the more objective, the clearer I can see things and the better the decision-making. I think meditation has numerous benefits, really numerous benefits, because fundamentally I'm working with my essential self. I'm learning what quality of thought to create to feel peaceful and happy inside, and they influence my emotions as well, my feelings.
Exactly, and they also influence inner peace, balance, and resilience as well, isn't it, Mr. Hoggs?
It's so true. You know, Sharifa, when I began to meditate, I think I would feel peaceful, and then I'd go back to work, and I was a bit, peaceless again, life like that. But, the more I've meditated, I found that it starts to become who I am. So I can carry that peace into my family and into my working life, and really it makes such a difference to quality of life. It really enhances. I really believe that it's our human right to feel peaceful internally. And because then everything works, life is enjoyable. But if my mind is overactive and I'm full of fear and worry and anxiety and depression, which unfortunately the majority of the world is grappling with at the moment, it's just a battle. Life becomes a battleground. And it's a message to me to do something for myself. And meditation's the oldest method. You don't need drugs. You just need patience to learn properly.
That was a good way to say it. And also, when speaking of meditation, when somebody wants to get into meditation, what they feel is like it's going to consume a lot of time. And nowadays, we see people are really, really preoccupied with a lot of things. So how can individuals integrate meditation into their busy schedules to effectively manage themselves?
Isn't it incredible when you really think about that? It's like I'm saying, I don't have time to care for myself. Because in a way, meditation is having love for who I am. And I will tell you honestly, when your mind is healthy, you need to sleep less. So the time you often oversleep because you're feeling tired, run down, exhausted, you meditate. I would never sleep more than 5 or 6 hours a day. And I live a very, very active life. I travel all the time. And so it's like when you look after your thoughts, you conserve energy. And so I think it's an incredible investment in quality of life, because when you look after yourself properly, you are a much nicer partner in a family, you're a much nicer colleague in a business, and you yourself feel much more comfortable with who you are as a person. Because deep down, I find we judge ourselves. And even though I might get angry with people, I feel very resentful to certain people, I don't like some people's opinions, deep down, I don't like myself when my mind is negative about others. And when my mind starts to become more positive, I pay a lot of attention to really trying to see good in other people. It makes a huge difference to quality of life. And meditation gives you the strength to, you can see the weakness and you can see the strength, but you choose to focus on the strength. And that's probably the most powerful thing to have better quality relationships.
Yes, and I guess we had a very good discussion on meditation and the importance of meditation as well. So we've come to the final 3 minutes of the show. So as a final, what's the message you would like to give the general public?
I feel, Sharifa, that we're at a very delicate time in history at the moment. Change is exponential. And as you said earlier, a lot of us feel quite stressed. One of the main reasons is we can't cope with change in society, change in gender roles, change in, the workplace, change in the family. Everything is changing, and it stresses me out. I feel we've got to really realize that the future will all be based on how I care for my mind and my inner world. And really, if I do something like meditation, like positive thinking, and I really give time to care for myself, to me, that is the best investment in my future. Much more than I would say financial or physical investment in my career. To look after myself will influence each part of my life in a positive way. And I think the way the world is going, we can't rely on anything externally. It's all changing so fast. So I've got to build a fortress inside myself, which makes me resilient to all the change that the world is throwing at all of us at the moment.
Exactly. And I think, as you mentioned, there's no use having a pile of money and crying inside, isn't it?
Sharifa, I know time is running out, but I gave a meditation course to a billionaire once. And you know what he said? I'm a complete success out there, in his career, and a total failure in here, inside. I said, what do you mean? He said, I'm not happy. I've made billions of dollars. In fact, he told me it's made me more unhappy. So this sort of illusion that wealth will solve all my problems. We all need some wealth, but we don't need huge amount. But somehow that's the culture of life today, to sort of, just use all my time and energy to accrue money. Yeah. So as you can see, I feel quite strongly we really need to care for ourselves and encourage our loved ones and our family members to do the same too.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Mr. Charles Hogg, for being a part of the program. It was really nice talking to you, and we learned something out of it as well.
Thank you, Sharifa. Lovely to meet you too. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much once again. So we've been in conversation with Mr. Charles Hogg, National Coordinator of Brahma Kumaris, Australia. Thank you so much once again, and have a safe flight back.
Thank you so much, Sharifa. Really appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. You're listening to Radio Sri Lanka. It's precisely 6 minutes to 12. A very good morning to you.